Hello everyone, I'm going to give you a short rundown on stuff that I've been doing during October. So at the beginning of October there was a transport and environment meeting, and I did a thread on Twitter just after it. It was on the 6th of October, so you can look back and find that there. And you can also watch it all on the webcast if you're so inclined. Some of the highlights from that were that we had a discussion, a big debate actually, in the committee about the funding for people under 22 to get their concessionary passes to work on trams. So currently the council funds that and doesn't get any funding directly from the government for that in the way that we do for bus travel for under 22s. So we're discussing whether that should go into the council's budget when we bring that forward in the new year. Our view is that we should be fighting for government funding for that, but that we will hope to include that in the Green Budget motion, even if that funding doesn't come from the government. We also kicked off work on the circulation plan for the city, which is a super important piece of work. What that's talking about is space allocation on our streets, recognising that the street space is finite for different modes of transport, and that the competition basically between bus, car, taxi, goods vehicles, walking, wheeling and cycling, and tram as well, all of those forms of transport can't exist in every single street, and therefore we need a circulation plan that gives space to certain modes of travel, but does it in a sensible way that allows everybody to get around the way that they need to. So that work, super important, and has been kicked off now. So you can catch up on the whole thing if you want to look back at that thread on Twitter or my webcast highlights. We also did have that first week in October the whole debacle around the winter festivals. The Christmas festival tender had been given to a company which now is saying that they can't deliver what they bid for at the price that they bid. So the council has had to urgently go back out and try and get other providers to put on some of those Christmas events to make sure that they still go ahead. So there has been a whole load of work going on in the background in the council to try to save the Christmas markets and all the different fun events that are going to be going on for Christmas. I have been really frustrated by it because the council officers didn't inform councillors in a timely way over the summer when there were some early warning signs that this was going wrong. But the key thing is that there will be events at Christmas. They are managing to save and salvage some of that, but it has been really frustrating. I had a week of annual leave. That was a highlight for me. When I came back from my leave, I also did a meeting of the Integration Joint Board, which is the board that combines the council and the NHS and looks after the strategy for health and social care. And again, after that meeting, I did a thread on Twitter with all of the key decisions there, and it's webcast as well. So if you want to, you can go back and see that. The highlight from that meeting for me is that there is currently a massive problem in terms of pay and conditions and availability of workers, both in health and social care, but particularly in social care. We are paying people so low that it is really difficult to recruit and to retain people to carry out care, both care at home and in care home settings. And there is a pressure across the whole of health and social care to actually be able to help all of the people who need health care, social care, to actually get the care that they need and that they're entitled to. So huge workforce pressures. So at that meeting you will see that that was a big theme, and also I have been doing quite a lot of follow-up work, talking to the unions as the workforce representatives, building relationships with those union representatives who I already know but not from that perspective, and also just making sure that I am fully abreast of everything that's going on in that sector, because for me health and social care is a new portfolio, so I'm still learning about it all. In the ward, what I've been doing is some work on Dumby Dykes has said for years that they need a bus service for their area, and we have another opportunity now to try and make some progress on that. I had been doing some work before the pandemic, but unfortunately when bus patronage fell away because of the distancing measures that we all had to abide by for COVID, public transport sort of went on the back burner a little bit, but now that that's back and we are using public transport more, I'm back on the case. So we've picked up that thread of work, and I've been speaking to community transport operators and also the public transport officer who works in the council, and we're formulating some plans. So I might be looking for some support from members for that in the coming months. So more on that to come. Also in the ward, there have been problems whenever we've had extreme weather events, not just in the city centre, but it has happened here where when we've had these extreme rainfall events, people have been flooded because there isn't enough capacity or drain away in the system and in our built environment for the amount of rainfall that we're seeing in such short periods of time. And so people have been getting flooded basements, getting flooded properties, and there is a tension there around what is a owner's responsibility of private property versus what is the public infrastructure responsibility. So I've been digging into that a little bit, and linked to that I went to a really good training session which Scottish Water provided for all councillors about what they do, what they provide in terms of drinking water and water supply, but also the drainage system away from our streets and our homes. So I'm learning a lot about that and trying to work out what can we do for people who have been flooded and maybe expect that that might happen again with extreme weather. I've also been along to a couple of other training sessions. One was about holiday lets, because the council's now got a planning control area in place for holiday lets, and the licensing regime is starting as well. So there are finally, after all of the campaigning that we did, there's now controls in place around holiday lets. So I was making sure that I was right up to speed on exactly how they work. So if you've got any questions about that, fire them into me. I am now fully trained. And also I went to a training session about the rights of the child. So although the city centre has not got as many families living here as some of the other wards in the city, we do have a lot of families. And one of the things I'm really keen to understand is how the council carries out its responsibilities with regards to the right of children. So yeah, that was a really interesting and insightful session. And then this week, finally, at full council, I proposed a motion, again, new portfolio, health and social care. I proposed a motion calling for the Health and Social Care Partnership to consider how it can support GPs to carry out this initiative by Doctors of the World called Safe Surgeries. And that is basically providing much more support for everybody, regardless of their migration status, to access GP care, because everybody in the country is entitled to see a GP, even regardless of what their immigration status is. However, because people who have uncertain status or perhaps have issues with the system, or maybe just don't even know what their entitlement is, don't access that healthcare. So that initiative has been agreed by council, so that'll be referred to Health and Social Care. So that's a good green win for the end of the month for me. So yeah, that's what I've been doing during October. I'll look forward to seeing you all soon.